Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. One of my favorite authors, I've mentioned her many times before, is Janine Roth. But I love how much she helped me when I read her work 30 years ago. And she talks about principles of recovering and healing emotional eating. And that the first one, I think it's the first one, is that there are always exquisitely good reasons to eat, to emotionally eat. What I love about that principle and what that means for me is not to condemn or criticize or be so mean to myself in my mind about what I have chosen to eat and how I have chosen to eat in it and what time I've chosen to move towards that food and wind up eating it. And instead of condemning myself for having done this, like it was a big mistake and an accident, or there I go again doing something wrong, instead to hold the idea, just hold it up, the possibility that you ate, you either binged or you graze ate or you did what you were doing for an exquisitely good reason. That is so tender and compassionate to yourself. It's so kind. It's so much more loving than beating yourself over the head with thoughts like, the ones that I just mentioned before that are so critical. There you go again. There must be something wrong with you. You must have some missing part when it comes to food and eating. You don't. This is some important way that life or your emotional world or the feelings that are inside of the body are expressing themselves. And this is the best you know how to do in that moment. I promise you that as you look and explore and find out what those exquisitely good reasons are, when you address them more head on, that is, looking at them clearly as if it's possible to find out how to resolve them in a way. It's not necessarily like a problem that has an answer or that you're going to have a clear big light bulb go off and suddenly all your worries and cares of the world will be done, but that it's possible to express this stuck energy kind of thing. I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but it's possible to express this thing that's stuck inside of you. Maybe it's a belief or some kind of group of beliefs that you've been carrying and holding as true for years and years since you were a little kid. So whatever it is that's a really good reason to eat, respect it and honor it. So when I was young and I was first beginning to move into emotional eating, my first emotional eating experiences for me were like maybe preteen or really teenage years. Some people have them a little earlier, far earlier in life, and some people even start later. But as I entered, I think I was passing age about 15. 15 was the first time I ever went on a diet. And I was really strict and really intense about that diet. And I did it with my mother, which is not uncommon for a lot of girls. It's sort of like, welcome to the culture of dieting. This is what we do here. And unfortunately, it throws some people off who are sensitive like me. And, you start to swing back and forth between diet, which is sort of a starvation and restriction, and then overeating over here on the other side. But really, all the feelings that I had on the inside about not being worthy, not being enough, not being able to handle what I was doing, being extremely shy and feeling very, very introverted, but also wanting to connect with people, like in the high school years, that kind of feeling resulted in more and more anxiety within. Well, that anxiety didn't really come out for me in a most severe way until I was leaving home. That was just like the thing that broke the camel's back, right? The straw that broke the camel's back. I love that saying because it's like one more little thing went on to the camel's back and that just broke the camel. Everything, I couldn't hold things in anymore. I was terrified about going off to college by myself. And that summer, before I actually left, all the anticipation and anxiety and I'm supposed to be so looking forward to this. And part of me was, but also I was terrified, and I had no way, I felt, to express my fear. I had no way to say, you know what, I'm actually also kind of worried about this. I'm not sure what I want to study. I don't know what it's going to be like. And I had no way in my mind to say that or express it and get the feelings of those kind of feelings out of me, and maybe cry about leaving home. I loved my home. I loved my family. And I was going like 4 states away, and took 26 hours just to drive there. A long way. So these were really valid and important, difficult feelings. And when I couldn't express them, I began to eat instead. So that turned into one big giant binge one night when I was with my family celebrating my very soon departure. And it was a really rough night for me internally and emotionally, but it was just because I had such stuck things inside, and I had exquisitely good reason to be eating. Fear of loneliness, separating from my family, being my expectations that I had about what I was supposed to do as soon as I went to college, and I was supposed to do really well and get very high grades and be extremely successful. All these things combined together made for so much anxiety on the inside of me, in my gut, that I wound up binging. So you may have your own really good reasons too, and to hold them as really sacred and important. The distress that you feel as being profoundly exquisite. Probably never thought of it that way before if you've graze eaten or binge eaten or had trouble with food. But you look at that impulse to eat, the compulsion you have, as an incredible teacher. Exquisitely good reason. Find out what that reason is. All right. Take care, everybody. Lots of love.